Get ready, America. It's time for Make48 Season 9 Nationals.
We're here at the beautiful Fishers Maker Playground, and we've got 6 teams ready to battle it out.
Make48 is a competition where we challenge teams to go from concept to working prototype in just 48 hours. Teams have support from our skilled tool techs and experienced mentors and patent attorneys, all within a makerspace brimming with tools. The teams will pitch their ideas to a panel of judges, with the winning team securing $10,000, a unique trophy, and bragging rights. The stage is set, and thanks to Corteva, the challenge is officially on. Who's ready for some serious innovation?
Well, you know I am. Let's go meet the teams. Excited. We cannot wait to see what you guys are going to create with this brand new challenge.
All right, first up, we want to thank Fishers Maker Playground for welcoming us one more time to Fishers, Indiana. This awesome space we've been at several times now, so we are thrilled that they have welcomed us back for Season 9 Nationals. So I want to introduce you to Mr. Nick Snyder. He is the Makerspace Coordinator Extraordinaire.
Makerspaces are really where the rubber meets the road for technology education. Makerspaces are a place where you can come and apply those concepts. You get to experiment hands-on, you get to tinker, you get to create, you get to make mistakes in a safe environment to do that. And we provide the tools that get you the experience that will then help you down the road and stay with you through your career and through your life.
Your teams and Make48 really embody the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation in our city. So best of luck this weekend, and thank you for being here.
Are you guys ready to introduce yourselves to the national stage? First up, from Vandermont, we have the Bolts and Brains. Also from Vandermont, meet the other guys. From our Minnesota Southeast competition, meet We Fail Fast. Hailing from Red Wing, Minnesota, we have the Wingers. From our Women in STEM competition at the Kansas City Art Institute, meet the Dream Makers. Also from the Women's STEM competition, we have C-Tex Caps.
And I am very excited to introduce our challenge sponsor, Corteva AgriScience, the Global Community Investment Leader and Foundation President, Ms. Heidi Spahn.
So Corteva is an innovation technology company, and so we're all about creating the next generation of products and innovation to help farmers and producers around the world be able to produce more food on less land.
The moment of truth is here. Are you guys ready to hear your challenge? Yes! Corteva AgriScience believes no one should go hungry. For over 100 years, they've worked with farmers to grow healthy food for families everywhere. Now they're inviting you to take on Food Forward, a challenge to design bold, practical solutions that make food more accessible, nutritious, and respectful for everyone.
This challenge, Food Forward, was really an outset of us knowing that food insecurity is a huge problem around the world. Food insecurity can be defined as people that don't have the access or the food that they need to survive.
The problem: across America, families face barriers to getting the healthy food they need. Fresh food spoils too quickly, distribution is physically demanding, and many families don't know when or where support is available. At the same time, community organizations want to provide food in ways that are practical and dignified, but they need better tools to do it.
Hunger in America doesn't look like what we perceive famine to look like in other places. The person sitting next to you at church, the child who goes to school with yours, they could be food insecure and you can't tell. And so it's important that when we're seeking to help people, we're treating them just like we are our friends and neighbors, because they are our friends and neighbors.
Your team challenge is to design a product, tool, or system that helps families, volunteers, and community organizations improve access to healthy food.
Don't miss out on any of the action. Subscribe to the Make48 YouTube channel and turn on notifications to catch every exciting episode. Be the first to know when new episodes drop.
Are you ready to get this clock started?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So we actually went through every category and kind of brainstormed within each category ideas that we could come up with.
We've got 3 different areas we've narrowed it down to. What are feelings about those 3 areas?
There's probably already a lot of packaging stuff out there, so the chances of us coming up with something new are pretty slim.
Okay.
We should probably make a bulleted list of the pros and cons of each thing.
At first we were sort of focused on a lot of different people that it could help, but then we got some advice from some tool techs that said maybe you need to focus it, and so what was the focus that we came up with?
The homeless.
I mean, some people are probably gonna just like get it, go back to where they're staying, eat it, and then go back and get more food the next day.
Our kind of process for brainstorming always usually starts with defining the problem.
Tell me, which one did you pick first out of the 4 options?
We're looking specifically at distribution and transportation.
Okay, why that?
Why? We feel like there's definitely a lot of area to improve there, specifically for food is very focused on the last mile delivery portion of it, right? The first mentor we met with was Rhonda. She was really helpful in kind of helping us define the problem and also pointing out some issues in our design, such as the safety of the food. So not just the perishability, but also the delicacy that these fresh produce items have. We're kind of looking at it a little different, putting a skeleton around the food and then using a vacuum so that way it can pull out all the air, and that way there's no air pockets that get
So I'm
get
picturing,
trapped.
when you said that, I'm picturing the little Lunchables meal, right?
Yeah.
Kind of got the little trays, it's sealed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure I'm on the right track.
Yeah, do you think that that's something that's, viable in the market and that would be, useful?
I mean, it's for sale, so it's already been created. How is
Yeah.
it different? What are you doing differently about that?
I work for Connor Prairie, which is a museum complex. So right now they are known for living history and nature programming, but they're expanding, which is what my role is, to build a food farm and energy experience talking about how our food is grown, where it's grown, confidence building in our food system, and the science behind our food.
At the beginning, we were all kind of working together, researching different ideas, kind of what stood out to us about the prompt.
The C-Tech CAPS team started out with an area of the supply chain that was a little hard to visualize what a prototype would be. And so in talking to them about what they really wanted to get, who their customer was, what part of that supply chain they wanted to be involved in, I think we helped kind of narrow down which part of that they really wanted to go to.
We wanted to do something with transportation or distribution of different food products.
I mean, Crosby mentioned the spring-loaded cart, and I liked the idea of a quick and easy thing. So I am fully on board with that idea and having a designated cart for moving things. But again, I don't know how in a food pantry that one will work.
Abraham, I would say, is trying to come up with as many ideas as he can. I'm trying my best to refine some of the ideas that Abraham is spitballing.
All right, what about the distribute? I think this is a cool idea.
I think it's a cool idea. I think it might be hard to pull off.
Why would it be hard?
because this would be delivered to more like homeless people or people with less ability to move around, right? Because
I mean, that would be the idea, is it's helping to get food to people who can't make it to the food pantry.
yeah, right. Then they have to go around every day and give it out, or would it be like a week's supply?
I feel like a week's supply would be good because you don't want someone coming back and forth and back and forth.
Well, and if
But then
you put it on
then they have to find a way to keep the food cold, keep the food hot. Like
true.
depending on what it is, like it might have to be just a daily thing.
Yeah, or you could do where it's packaged food.
Well, we have two main ideas. We're still figuring out which one we should do. We're thinking about just asking people around us to get their opinion and input to see which idea we should choose. Maybe we could get an idea in each one, maybe say
Yeah,
4 different ideas.
That's not a bad idea. And then pitch them each to the patent attorney.
and then
see which one they
whichever
like the
one,
best.
yeah.
Cool.
We bring in patent attorneys, legal specialists who help inventors and businesses secure, manage, and enforce patents for their inventions.
This way, the students can get a real taste of what it's like to go through the invention process.
My role at Make48 is to help ensure that the team's inventions are not infringing any existing patent.
We have some padlocks on ours and it's keypads. Our first thought of it was that they'd be battery operated, but after we met with the patent attorney, he said, you know, you could put a solar panel on it.
The teams all did tend to gravitate towards kind of one aspect of the challenge. However, they all are different in various ways.
The most important concern that I heard was really about the top mechanism of our design and the vacuum pump component.
Their patent is on the overall system. So they claim a food storage system comprising a food storage container, which you have, defining a plurality of compartments, which you have, the container comprising an upper lid, which you have, and a lower lid, which kind of depends on what you're calling the upper and lower lid. Is that going to be the silicone seal?
But we received a lot of useful feedback on how we can kind of get around that eventually.
The insulated component comprising an inner wall and outer wall with an insulating material between. So all of their walls are made of 2 layers with something in between. If you were to just use a single layer, you would get around that element, for example.
So there wasn't an immediate cause for concern, but it's something that, you know, as we continue the design that we're going to have to consider.
The DeBruce Foundation has identified 10 activities that happen in any job, anywhere, at any time. These are called the agilities. During the Make48 competition, we have our competitors to take the Agile Work Profiler. This tells them what their top 3 agilities are. These things are their skills and their interests. We also observe them throughout the weekend to see who has the best agilities, and we give an Agilities in Action Award. Why don't we go take a look at some of the teams and talk with them and see what their agilities are.
Like serving and caring, it's just a part of my personality.
These are mine: organizing, managing, inspecting.
I see you're organizing information right now. That's exactly right.
She's gonna make us stay on track.
Managing, for example, I think I'm gonna kind of be getting everybody's ideas, developing others, so bring everybody's ideas up and then kind of fit them in a way where they all kind of match and develop a product like that.
Very good. I like how you're just kind of taking charge and making sure everybody is heard. The countdown has begun and day 1 of Nationals has officially kicked off.
Let's see how these incredible teams turn their ideas into reality.
Tristan, within like the first hour of the competition, came up with this idea and we were like, wow, this is super cool. Let's hop on this train.
Right now we're kind of looking at food storage right now, and we came up with ideas to kind of preserve the food without using energy.
So we were kind of thinking of like a double layered box. It would utilize evaporative cooling, which is a method a method of cooling where in between the two boxes we would have some kind of substance with water in there, and the water would evaporate, which would cool the products inside. So we were thinking of kind of like an electricity-free approach to storing food. My name is Tristan. I'm a sophomore at Redmond High School. I'm interning at an AI company called Bianco OTT Robotics. They're based in Hessen, Germany, and they develop cognitive AI. I got really interested in AI because I've always been really interested in engineering, and I always kind of thought about the future of engineering and what other industries it would collide with. And I thought engineering and AI coming together to create, smart robots, digital assistants, it's really going to be the future. I'm also really passionate about sustainability, so I actually run a nonprofit called Project Sprout. We're working with a Christian charity in Uganda called School Connect, and we're planting trees at a special needs school in Uganda.
We had an idea. It's a drone that drives around and it's able to heat and cool your stuff that you ordered. And we weren't able to do that because it was building off of another patent.
You would be doing basically the same thing and then adding new features to it. And the problem there is so this is my classic example. You could get a patent on the pencil. You could get a patent on the pencil with an eraser, but your patent on the pencil with the eraser is still going to infringe the patent on the pencil. So adding new items to it doesn't get you away from infringing your core patent. You would have to actually remove elements from this.
Luckily, we had prepared and thought ahead a little bit, so we actually came to the patent attorney with 3 different ideas. We're trying to make essentially a system that's going to keep food cold and air-free through pressurization. The idea is that an area of low pressure would help cool down, and also a lack of air would help keep food fresh. We had one last idea.
Sure, no problem.
The idea was to have like a essentially exoskeleton backpack that would come over your back and arms. That would make it a lot easier to lift things. Our first and third idea, he said they sounded good, just need to be a little bit more fleshed out, which of course, when you work on 3 ideas and the time that most people work on one, they're not going to be very fleshed out.
I did not find any infringement risks with any of the inventions that came up this year.
We are trying to focus on the homeless because the population unfortunately has gone up with homeless people not being able to have as much food.
In America, unfortunately, there are a lot of families who are one adverse event, one car accident, one medical bill unexpected, one job loss away from needing help from others. While many of us have family and friends we can rely on, not all family and friends are able to help. Food banks and food pantries provide charitable assistance to those who are at risk of hunger.
We wanted to find a way that people could transport it and get it to them and it could still be hot or cold.
I've had a few conversations with the CAPS creators. They've moved sort of from one idea to another idea, but they're really looking at how do we make distribution and logistics better.
Crosby, she made a cardboard prototype of our box. I used some graphing paper and drew it out, what we wanted our design to be. And then Caroline worked on a CAD model.
You can't really succeed in private very well if you don't have the input from other people, from other skilled professionals, from other people who might be consumers. Then you're going to run into some speed bumps.
Since our teams are limited to 48 hours, we bring in focus group members to simulate the outside world.
Focus groups are used for qualitative research to gather insights, opinions, and feelings about the team's products.
So today I was in a focus group. For me, the biggest metrics is going to be how many more people we can feed.
It's a dual layered box. The idea is any food that you put inside the inner box is going to stay cold because of evaporative cooling.
So what's the difference of a traditional big cooler?
Exactly.
Yeah? All you'd have to refill is water, but the water could last for days on end, whereas with ice, you constantly have to be refilling ice. Some interesting feedback we got was that because our product relies so heavily on water, some places where water isn't as accessible might need a different way of utilizing the product.
Where there's a disaster going on, or there's you just mentioned about what happened in Florida, unfortunately. Those type of places may not even have access to so much water.
Clean water, yeah.
We're definitely going to implement a water pump so you can easily take out the water and add new water to the product.
Right now our prototype idea is a box that has a vacuum seal inside of it so that we can preserve kind of those fresher foods, more nutritional foods, and get those to people who need it.
One of the most valuable piece of information that we got from the focus group was like the idea of making our product able to store it in a more compact space.
Food pantries have very limited space, you know, and what space they do have, they want to fill it with food, right? So if you have 100 of these, like, is there going to be a way that they can be stored? So maybe something to think about there, if somehow it could fold, collapse.
I think the one thing we really took from that meeting that we're gonna really try and implement is definitely that collapsibility of it.
Our idea is to create pantry pods that can be placed at bus stops around the city.
What is the cost of making one like this, and how many do you think in a city like maybe Dallas or Indianapolis would need? Because this could be a great idea, trust me, it's a really good idea, but I'm thinking about how costly it can be.
We haven't gotten that far yet.
You mentioned to us about the city where they would...
To me, wouldn't the city have to invest? This is a city investment.
It could be, but still somebody has to write a grant.
Right.
Yeah.
Money's not easy, right? So.
Yeah.
After going into the focus group, they told us that like no city's gonna want to buy something that's super crazy expensive, so it still matters some. So we will probably be trying to keep the price a little lower.
A very surprising part for me was that they had so much that they thought we could add to it, like a strap,
A lock,
and like
pockets for storage.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could put a strap on it so you could like put it over your shoulder so you're not having to use your hand at all?
We could do that, yeah.
A lot of homeless people's stuff gets stolen.
Yes.
So think about putting a, not real lock and chain, but something where they can basically, because they always have
Like
their
maybe like a
padlocks.
drawer or something.
Almost like a bike chain.
Yeah,
type
bike chain,
situation.
thank you.
If
Yeah,
you
something
have
like
some area where it could be secured.
Yeah.
Their idea to do a storage bin that could roll, but it would also stay at standing height with the compression springs in it.
The main feedback statement they gave was the wheels, the tires.
Think about your wheels, because the bigger the wheels, it's the less effort. It's like simple mechanics, you know?
They had different opinions on it too, so that gave us different ways to look at it.
As day one comes to an end, all the teams have worked hard to come up with the solution for the Food Forward Challenge.
Some of the teams have started prototyping, while others are still finalizing their ideas.
Stay tuned to find out who's pulling ahead.
Next time on Make48.
Welcome to Ace Hardware here in Fishers, Indiana. We've got 48 minutes.
We got a lot to work on right now.
Some of the tool techs didn't quite see our vision with the zipper.
We have to figure out how we're going to get around these handles.
The second shelf seems a little bit tight.
Welcome to Ace Hardware here in Fishers, Indiana. We brought in the most seasoned Ace associates to help you through your adventure today. You've got 48 minutes to complete your journey, so thank you for choosing us.
Let's let this start. Let's go.
One of the key things that we had to do with our hardware run were springs, like our shelves are spring loaded inside of our cart.
We spent a lot of time looking at cabinet hardware.
At one point we thought maybe our design would attach to a bike.
So you're kind of looking for like a row. They're looking more like a
Not
row.
like a U shape.
Something that's
stiff, though. So
Yeah,
stiff.
stiff.
It doesn't run into
Run
the
into so
wall.
let's go back here. I think we might have a couple of those. Is it going on the front? Is it going on
The back.
It's going on the back of the bike?
Yeah.
You know, even this way, stuff could be even attached.
I think this could work.
Miss Vicky, we found this.
For
The bike.
We were looking for like sheet metal, but instead we got chicken wire, which probably worked a little better because you can actually see through it.
Paint. What are you guys looking for?
We really needed plywood.
Yeah, plywood was a big thing.
And they were sold out of it, so that caused us to have a little adjustment.
One thing that we did end up getting were these, were they barbecue?
Barbecue bags that we were reusing the idea of like the insulation.
That's like the fabric. So I mean, if you got those, you could cut them up, you know?
Yeah.
Chill, sliced ice.
Probably the most critical thing that we bought was the bins.
I kind of like the clears better.
Person would put this around their wrist, right? And then something attached to it so that if somebody would they can't feel it, they wouldn't be able to. Yeah.
Oh, and then the wheels. Like
oh,
that
the
was
wheels
the
were the most important part, and those took us a while.
That's a lot. Do you have more of the stationary ones?
Yeah, the stationary is what we're kind of
Say,
looking
there was one right here.
And so it was deciding if we wanted caster wheels on all four, or if we wanted just like locked wheels on everything.
And then how to attach the wheels to the
That
product.
was a whole
other thing. We had to involve some of the wonderful gentlemen that worked there helped.
One of our key core values is teamwork. And what better way of bringing in 6 wonderful teams into our store. Our team associates work hard in our community. We've got tons of institutional knowledge within the building. Everyone has either been in the construction industry or has trained in those areas a lot. Giving them the opportunity to interact with those associates at a very high level, I think, is very vital for their success.
We got a flag on the play because no one has as nice of a flow as this fine man. All right.
I reject your flag.
Was my conduct for picking up the referee's flag?
Where did you find those?
Right around there.
Right around
There's like a whole bunch of like broom handles and
Is it, can you like, interesting. I think you found like everything on your list. We have 2 minutes left. How you doing? Got 2 teams. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Fisher's Maker Playground, where the teams just returned from their hardware store run.
Let's see how these teams turn their visions into reality over the next 24 hours.
We didn't know the dimensions of the vacuum that we were going to use for the prototype. We really couldn't make a lot of designs before we made the hardware run. So today, when we actually brought the vacuum back, we were able to get a lot of those dimensions. We've got some CNC cut files that have been sent out to our CNC machine.
CNC is a computer-operated robot. It is able to cut plywoods, metals, and the ShopBot's is able to just automate your work process.
We had to pivot last night from our initial idea of a pressurized box that would keep produce fresh, and now we're kind of pivoting more towards a refrigerated bag with an active cooling system.
And what made you change to that?
We realized that like the vacuum was just going to be too difficult, but we still wanted to maintain, you know, the premise of increasing food longevity without having to hook up directly to a power grid. So now we're using kind of a convection cooling mechanism with some fans and an ice pack inside of that holder thing, which we've insulated.
And what powers the fans? Just the convection current?
No, it's going to be a battery. Sure.
Yeah.
Our biggest challenge is going to be getting our design to work, because we talked to the tool techs and they said they can do it. They just like, we need like several like of those compression shelves made, and it might take them a while to do it. So we're a little worried about time on that.
So this weekend, I am honored to serve as a mentor for the teams. The technical knowledge that I bring to the table, I've been involved in the agriculture industry for, man, I hate to say it, 20 plus years now. I've worked in that supply chain in various ways, and so that's kind of my connection from a technical standpoint to what the challenge is. One of the other things we talked about yesterday was how big those spaces are going to be and whether they're going to be for like an individual meal or family meal. Like, where'd you land on that?
3 to 4 people lockers, and then 2
Okay, so
family lockers.
Yep, so these are your singles, so we're gonna have 3 of those.
Okay.
Then we're gonna have 2 doubles, which would be your family, so 3 to 4 people. Yes, you'd have more of your doubles, and then you'd have 2 families.
We got told to focus. Quit worrying about so many of the details, which
we were overcomplicating.
Yeah, we were overcomplicating the situation. So to keep it kind of focused, and maybe the bike attachment could be later.
But I think the bigger thing that this is good for is separating heavy objects from soft objects. So if they give you a loaf of bread, you don't put that right next to your watermelon and it rolls over and smashes it or smashes your eggs. I think that's the bigger, more important thing for this.
Right.
The School for the Blind, their product is really aimed at the unhoused population and food banks, that crossover and helping them. And so I talked with them for a good hour about like narrowing their scope. Like they wanted to have an attachment for a bicycle on. And while it's a good idea for their product, there's not a lot of homeless people or unhoused people that have bicycles.
We know in Indiana that about half of the neighbors who are food insecure that we would seek to serve are eligible for some federal programs, but a lot of them aren't. And so they don't necessarily have the resources for food. And food access is the easiest point of access to get help.
So we have kind of 2 buckets, and then we put water in between them. And it uses like, what was it, adaptive cooling? Evaporative cooling to kind of keep the vegetables cool for like up to like 3 weeks.
What are you guys looking to do?
All right, so basically we want to completely cut these handles off.
Cut them off?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna have a different grabbing mechanism.
Okay, we can do that.
We just started like roughly prototyping our model. The stabilization that the CAD designer helped put in, I think, is going to make it function even better because there's not going to be like a lot of swaying or wiggling within the shelf itself as it's going up and down, because he added like a stabilization feature we hadn't even thought of, and he just like thought of it, and it was like, oh yeah, that's really important. Yes.
We got the first shelf in. I think it moves pretty well. The second shelf seems a little bit tight, I think just naturally with the movement of the wood. I don't think it's a big deal because it's obviously a little bigger. So we can just sand down these edges of this dado. We can probably find some wax.
Yeah, that's what we said too.
Wax these dados.
Exactly.
So it's like really easy to go.
The trapper keeper is going to look how it looks on the outside and the inside. It's going to have insulation with fans, which she's working on right now, which an ice pack that keeps the thing cool inside. We got a lot to work on right now. So.
What do you need from me?
Is there any, I wouldn't say holes, but is there any gaps that you think that should be filled? From basing off from what, because we see our design and we've been working on this, but coming from someone who's looked at everyone else's designs and now seen ours, what do you think are any gaps?
I love that question actually, because you're right. When you are working on something and you're so close to it, you don't see your blind spots because you're like, this is brilliant. I built it. I designed it. And that's great.
With young innovators, it's actually very similar to all innovators. A lot of people have a difficult time letting go of an idea when they come up with it. They think it's a great idea, especially in a situation where there might be infringement risks, or if they're trying to get something patented. There's a lot of existing prior art where it's going to be very difficult for them to get any protection. It can be challenging for them to move on from an idea or to accept that maybe their idea needs to be improved upon or tweaked in some way.
I mentioned safety a couple of times and you went to safety of the thing. What about safety of the people?
Yeah.
So that's where when you mention lights, it's always safer to be somewhere that's got some lights than it is a dark alley, right?
Right.
So think about safety of the people too, because they may have to come at 10 o'clock at night when they get off, or midnight when they get off of a night shift working to get their food, right?
The clock is ticking. Come back to watch more sparks fly.
Cut the PVC.
So we have to cut 1/7/8 of an inch on the bench.
What you need? Okay, so we need to cut 1 7/8 holes
7 inch.
on
Either side.
Alright, thank you.
Yep.
Our most important things are probably cutting holes in the bins so that way we can fit the tube through it.
What they just did is they cut this handle off, so that way on either side of it we can have felt handles.
Could we do like
Did you
rigid
wanna
handles? Because felt handles make sense here because
Okay.
it meshes with the bottom, but there's nothing to hit. There's nothing blocking these handles.
And we want it to be durable. We could do that. What would we
Yeah.
make them out of?
You could probably do like wood or just that thin aluminum too works.
Okay, wood or aluminum.
Definitely the most used tool is going to be soldering iron.
Because we were working on the electrical wiring the fan, so even though it won't work, it'll look like the fans are working, actually cooling down the box.
Neat little trick about soldering that a lot of people don't realize is lining up your wires, right? People will try to clamp them up end on end, and as you can see, they don't want to stay together. So what I like to do is a little loop on either end. When you curl your wires like that, you can hook them together and get a stable connection. So you can just pull them together like that. So it's a whole lot easier to solder them. Another little trick that people don't realize, you're not heating the solder, you're heating your wires. So you want to sit here and hold that on your wires for a minute and just keep touching your solder. Eventually, it'll start to take. And once it takes, you're good.
We're 3D printing right now. We're doing the fan holders that there's going to be one inlet and outlet fan inside, so it's going to take the hot air in, run it over the ice.
You gonna put an actual fan in here for this event?
Nice. Yeah, we've got fans and I'm getting them wired up.
You're gonna wire them?
Yep.
Our school is heavily involved in this program called NASA Hunch that works with NASA and students who develop like prototypes for like future technologies. And so that's been something I've been heavily involved in for the past few years. And it's a great experience, like rapidly prototyping and seeing your ideas come true and like kind of coming up with unique ideas that aren't seen before. And I think that really applies to this competition because it's kind of the same thing.
That program really pulls in a lot of different people from our school. So you get a lot of different types of groups, people with different backgrounds and skills.
And so just like understanding where everyone's coming from and what experience they bring to the table and how that impacts how the project's going to turn out is really important for success in the NASA Hunch program.
Our riskiest thing is just getting the prototype working. So I want to get working before the VIP walkthrough, just so everyone can kind of see it.
Step into the heart of innovation with the Make48 VIP experience.
Have your prototype to the point where you can discuss it with the VIPs. And being able to use that as a way to practice your pitch, get their feedback, see what they see and what they don't see.
This exclusive pass provides behind-the-scenes access to our 48-hour competition, allowing guests to witness groundbreaking ideas unfold.
I love talking to students about their planning and thought process and young minds and seeing where the creativity flows.
This is a huge leadership opportunity, and the way that those girls are working together and collaborating and seeing those different levels of leadership kind of like interplay is really impactful.
It gives VIPs the unique chance to interact directly with the competing teams and connect with leaders and mentors in the STEM community.
When you look at a company like Corteva, or pick your favorite innovation technology company, people gravitate and think, oh, I have to be a scientist or a salesperson. I have a degree in public relations. So it takes everyone. And what are those skills that you can take with you and really use those in a variety of different jobs?
Getting them involved in such a young age, we can see like, yeah, we can make a difference. We can be taken seriously. They have done it. They have the experience. They've worked with the people who are making a difference. They can be mentored by them. They can learn. And more importantly, they can be treated like peers by them.
teams are continuing to build for the challenge. This room is buzzing with innovation, and prototypes are evolving.
Greatest priority right now, I really want to finish the prototype today.
Well, we're a little over halfway through the competition, so I just want to check in and see how everything's going for you guys.
So we just hot glued these in so that we can connect these to the other crates or tubs. And right now we're working on shelves. And we were just thinking about putting them like this, except it would block the airflow through these two. So we just decided that we're gonna have it like that. So, and we're gonna put popsicle sticks down here for support.
How you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Well, tell me where we're at in this process.
All the files have been cut out and we have sanded them all, so now we just gotta stick all the pieces together like one big puzzle.
One problem that the lady from the food pantry shared with us was that there are a lot of people who need food that can't get to the food pantry, either because they can't get there during the hours that they're open or they don't have transportation to get there.
Yes, we were headed towards distribution and dignity.
You think you're gonna stay in it, or where do you do some decorations, laser cut something, or what?
Each one of the boxes needs a number on it, so that will be done.
Yeah, we're
eventually.
working on the laser for that.
Yes,
We're
and
spray
then
painting it black,
yeah,
and then we bought hardware and stuff to attach onto it.
like door handles and stuff.
Yeah, sweet.
Some of the tool techs didn't quite see our vision with the zipper, I'd say.
Yeah. Zippers are hard. They're very hard to sew. And we don't have anybody here as a sewing person.
As it was like, oh, you could just use Velcro. And we're like, oh, we don't really want to use Velcro.
that wasn't the idea.
That wasn't the idea. And so we ended up finding something that we were able to kind of
maneuver. I do think this is important. Having a way that it is not easily stolen but we can have a latch at the end that is basically this, that hooks together, this hooks on there still.
Don't go anywhere. More Make48 action is coming right up.
I think a big mistake that teams pretty often make is they're like, okay, we want to 3D print this thing. And it's a big part, and it's going to take 6 hours to 3D print, versus I always tell them, okay, how else can we make this? You want a big box with buttons on it, like a keypad. One of the teams had me print because they wanted a specific size. But before that, I was like, hey, you could just take a box and put little bottle caps on it or something and just paint it.
There's a group that came up to me today wanting 9 doors on their project, and 9's a little excessive, so we're down to 3 now. And instead of hinges, we're using fabric because it saves time, money, and the detail still looks great. It gets the point across.
These things already exist and they're so much quicker to get a result, and then you could see if you like it or not, and then we can print a nice one. But in order to do that kind of rapid prototyping, people sometimes just think, I'll just 3D print this and have something made. But there's usually other ways to think about it.
What are you working on for the rest of the night here?
Right now we're sanding our shelf supports to make them go in these grooves easier, so they'll slide up and down without resistance.
There's some wax right here. We found this one.
Nice.
Cabinet.
Can you explain the bungee system quickly?
The bungee, so on the top we have, we'll have the cover for it, and we'll have an eye hook there. And then we have our bungee rope that will be attached to the shelf, and we'll drill a, half-inch diameter hole, and then we'll attach them. So this will be on the roof, so it'll be up here, and then this is the part of the shelf. So when you add weight, it'll go down, and when you take off weight, it'll go back up. So that's what we're trying to get right now.
Caroline, love her to death. Her and Aurora, our old team member, very similar.
Yeah.
They both think a lot of the same way, so it hasn't been super different so far.
So we kind of did a lot of preparation with our new member. We made sure that, she'd seen all the episodes, she'd seen how we competed before, how others competed. She took the agilities quiz, so we could kind of figure out what her strong suits were and where we can kind of take the lead. What we learned is she's very innovative. She can come up with a lot of great ideas.
How are you guys doing today?
We're doing good.
Pretty good so far.
What are we working on here?
So we are Velcroing the bottom, kind of this bottom brim, so the fabric has a place to kind of stay and not just like flap around.
I think our last big step is we have to figure out how we're gonna get around these handles here, and get the fabric still around there. We might need to work on that, but other than
You
that,
just try cutting it or...
Yeah, we should be able to cover that pretty easily.
Yeah.
Nice. It's been a great day. It's been really busy. We've done a lot.
Yeah, I've been super busy today. From welding, helping with the CNC, doing a lot of custom fabrication.
I think tomorrow will be a lot of marketing work. In my opinion, the biggest thing you can do, really no matter what you make, is just the ability to sell it. When I competed, we never had the best products, but our pitch was spot on, and that's what helped us. And I think that lesson could be applied by these way more talented kids than I am.
Talk about like what you've seen, you know, what people experience and how that's hard. Day 2 comes to an end. Some teams are done prototyping while others will be having a late night. Stay tuned for tomorrow where a winner will be crowned. Next time on Make48.
We came in this morning knowing that we wanted to make a few small changes to our prototype.
We have to finish tweaking the product.
A lot of science, but also a lot of science.
Congratulations
Welcome back to Make48. It's day 3, and with only a few hours left, teams are finalizing their prototypes and getting ready to pitch. Let's find out who's going to take home that $10,000 prize and be crowned champion of season 9.
When we came in on this morning, we only really had one thing left on our mind, and that was our video.
We came in this morning knowing that we wanted to make a few small changes to our prototype. We wanted to drill some holes near the top and near the bottom.
We have to finish tweaking the product. We're gonna finish it with hot glue and duct tape, actually.
We got a lot of progress made last night, so now it was just the final edits.
Our biggest thing we have left to do is just have the boys practice their pitch and make sure everyone feels really confident with what they're going to talk about.
We have got to work mostly on our sales pitch. We had kept trying to get to the pitch, but every time we would gather each other together, we'd get pulled in another direction. The tool tech would be like ready to install our wheels, or they'd be ready to install our cabinet lids, or whatever it might have been. It just always seemed like a thing happened every time we'd get together.
So with the trophies, we talked about a lot of the food cycle.
What's grown in Indiana is corn, so we decided on focusing on the corn in a field. Then we show them being collected or harvested in little buckets, and then we finally, at the bottom, will show it kind of on a picnic table. And the trophy's also actually a tray, which is kind of like a serving tray, so we were going on that for the food theme.
So we're getting ready to set up to do the trophy, and I want to make sure the cut isn't exactly where I expect it to be, so I'm going to run an air cut. I've zeroed to the top of this board, but then I've moved the Z-at up a set amount, and I'm going to run it as if the location where it is right now is at 0, 0.
I'm adding all the electrical for the lights. We're going to do a dual color light pattern inside the wings.
We have some epoxy resin pours in there. We have this like 3D printed, wired up, light up plane. So the miniatures themselves, so the corn is 3D printed for the tops. The stalks are actually just coffee stirs that I used and glued on. These parts, the dirt here is 3D printed to get that specific angle. The picnic table and the crates I made out of popsicle sticks mostly. So we definitely wanted to include the blind teams or the low vision team. We wanted them to be able to experience the trophy as well. So the braille says first place.
I'd say our team dynamic, if you were to sum it up in one word, would be brothers.
Say perseverance.
Passionate.
Very magnetic. I would choose innovation.
Versatile.
You get, the serious and the silly. You get the making fun of and the supporting each other. And, they really welcomed me into their little group.
Everybody on our team has a visual impairment, and so they've really had to work to persevere in their life and to find different ways to approach problems and to look at things.
They all, when they believe in something, are very strongly opinionated about it and very passionate about how they feel in a really positive way. I think all of them just have big hearts and care about things.
They have multiple kind of skills that each of them possesses, but it just elevates it in everyone else, and again, just kind of makes that connection so strong.
The base design for our idea was very obscure. Came from the Middle East hundreds of years ago, and we kind of modernized it. We made it industrial, made it work better, and I would say that's very innovating.
They have a lot of background in a lot of different areas, even in each individual person.
To introduce you to our important judges. First, we have Sam Schweppe from Fresh Connect Central.
My family owns and operates a dairy farm in southern Indiana, and our farm has been nourishing our community since 1874. I worked for Feeding America, the National Food Bank Association, for 6 years, so I have seen a lot of innovative programs and projects that have done wonderful things to help communities with food access.
Next, we have Miss Rhonda Ham from Conner Prairie.
So I've been involved in product development. So I've actually created a product. I actually am a holder of a couple of patent applications and patents, and I'm a scientist. So all of those things really pull into how to create something and solve a problem.
And we also have Sue McCluskey from Fair Oaks Farm.
Together with my husband Mike and my children, we are founders of one of the highest valued dairy products out in the country right now. We have also led the charge in taking manure-based renewable energy to create electrical generation and fuel transportation fuels. And we've also founded Fair Oaks Farms, which is an agricultural education and hospitality venue right here in Indiana.
All right, so it is time to welcome our first team. Let's have bolts and brains. Come on down.
Our product's name is Icebox, and the problem that we are solving is food banks, they can't have cold food because it spoils too fast. And the Icebox solves that problem by having affordable refrigeration, and it keeps the food fresher for longer.
So the Icebox is similar to a refrigerator, except it uses a different method of cooling. The method of cooling that we use is called pressurized cooling. So how it works is this vacuum here, trusty old vacuum. This will be our depressurizer. So we attach it onto the Icebox, and whenever we do that, we turn it on. It'll start sucking the pressure out of the Icebox, causing the Icebox to start cooling down to that perfect golden temp, 30 to 35 degrees. So these aluminum tubes will be able to attach to each other. You'll be able to turn on the depressurizer, and it will go through and it will cool down that one. And not only will it stop there, it will also cool down this one. So what we found on the internet is for 1 cubic feet for cooling, refrigeration, it was $300 per cubic feet. And for our Icebox, it is only $3 per cubic feet. So it's 10 times cheaper. And you will save around $30,000 per feet.
Next team up, We Fail Fast 2.
Over 14 million kids in the U.S. are suffering from some sort of food insecurities. Additionally, 24.4 million kids are eligible for discounted or free school lunches at their school due to family economic hardship. The kids are given backpacks with food in them to bring home. In theory, these would work great. However, there are a lot of issues with these in modern day school systems. So for one, because they're using backpacks, they're unable to put in refrigerated food, which often leads kids to have highly processed foods that don't really contain the nutrients they need during this highly important developmental time. So we don't want any of that. So that's why we decided to develop FoodLink.
Our design is based around a trapper keeper or binder holder that many students already use in school. So our goal with that was to make a system that was as discreet as possible to reduce that anxiety kids might feel when applying and using these programs. So it contains an insulated interior with modular sections so that food can be easily organized and kept cool for long periods. Convection cooling is the unique trait that our product uses to keep food cool for longer periods of time. It draws warm air in from one fan over the ice pack, conveniently hidden in the outside, and back into the food where it can cool it super efficiently. The fans are super quiet. They've been running this whole time and you didn't even hear it.
With all the components and the food in that, how much does that weigh? And then is that a barrier for different age students?
Corey, how much would you say it weighs?
3 pounds. You can also carry it with your shoulder and not just with the handle. So it's for like biking, walking, any type of like transportation. You can use it with the shoulder or just the handle.
Let's bring up the Dream Makers.
Unfortunately, the amount of people who don't have accessible transportation or access to a sustainable, healthy food source is growing, but our product can fix that. Our product and solution is a insulated solution for an everyday problems.
First, this is a insulated bag, and so there is a retractable wristband, and then when you unzip it, in the inside there is a divider that can collapse. On the bottom, it is a metal platform, so bugs or rodents can't go through it, and it lifts up. And then we collapse the cart, and on both sides there is Velcro to secure it. And then you can also use this as a pillow and attach the wristband to you so that if anyone were to try to steal your belongings, because our main purpose was to use this for the homeless because they have a hard time, not getting their stuff stolen. So, and then on the sides of the pockets, there is a light that can go in the inside.
Our product in solution is your everyday solution for real-world problems.
It's almost like the simpler, the more effective, right?
Absolutely. I mean, don't over-engineer something.
Yeah.
Next up is the other guys.
So we are solving the distribution problem to getting food to families that need it most. So pantries, on average, are spread 50 miles apart in large cities, which is harder for families who don't have the opportunity for transportation to get there if they are stuck in the middle. And families often face missed meals and limited choices because if they're getting off at work at 6 and the food pantry closes at 4, they have no way to get to their meal.
Our solution to these problems is the pantry pod. The pantry pod is a vending machine type system. It is insulated on the inside, kind of like a cooler. It's meant to keep food relatively the same temperature without going too high or too low. The pantry pod would be made out of a heavy duty metal, so there's not as much vandalism, and then it would be coated with a heat resistant paint. And then there's ad space on the side and the back.
So the pod is stocked by local food pantries or charities or communities that manage through and on the app. So users register through an app and are assigned a nearby pod close to their home. They choose items from a pantry curated menu that the pantry or community puts together every couple of weeks, and you get to select your items that you want in your locker. Notifications are sent from a secure code to unlock your individual compartment.
By using the pantry pod, people gain choice and dignity.
pods are easily accessible at bus stops.
Yeah, so you mentioned early in your pitch that food pantries are about 50 miles apart. So how many of these would be in a typical community?
So we looked up for Dallas, which is where we live, how many bus stops there are, because bus stops were we felt like a good spot where a lot of people pass by, or if they're using public transportation. And there are 6,000 bus stops in the Dallas Metroplex. So even if you could get these at half of those, you'd have 3,000 drop spots that people would hopefully have close access to.
Let's bring up the wingers.
When I lived in Florida, I experienced firsthand tons of hurricanes and storms that knocked out electricity, causing food banks and food insecure individuals alike to rely on backup power generators. And if you couldn't afford those, you had to wait until the electricity turned back on, otherwise your perishables would spoil. So we developed Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is an electricity-free refrigerator. It functions entirely based on the power of water, and it cools using evaporative and radiative cooling. You would screw that open, you'd use a hose to fill it up with 38 gallons of water. There you have a fill level indicator. So you would set it outside and it would keep your food at 42 degrees. This is proven mathematically. There are two main cooling mechanisms. The first is evaporative cooling, where, like I said, once the water is filled up, water would diffuse through this microfiber cloth around here, and the evaporation would naturally keep what's inside cold. And the second is through the reflective lid, which induces radiative cooling. We also have a lid here, which is completely airtight, which keeps your food, which is in there, completely safe from pests and insects. The inside container is made out of polyethylene, so it's lightweight, and it's completely food safe. It's a type of plastic that's really easy to clean, and the outer is made out of ASA, a type of plastic, also easy to clean, lightweight, and it's completely weather durable, so it'll last forever. It produces the cooling power of 240 to 600 watts, which is equivalent to a refrigerator, all without electricity, just the power of water.
Is this supposed to be transportable, or is it more a stationary product? Someone buys it empty, takes it to their home, or like you had mentioned, they put it outside of a food bank or some emergency food supply type of a setup.
Exactly. So businesses could purchase it, put their logo on it, so it would be marketing for them. Then yeah, it would be stationary outside their business. They would just pledge to fill it up with water, so that way the food inside is constantly cold, and people can leave food that they don't need. Others can take food. It could also be managed by the local food shelf. And like we said, you could also have a small version like this in people's houses.
C-Tech Caps creators.
We have all been there. That constant lifting that kills our backs. But what if there was a way that we could alleviate back pain? Introducing Sir Lift a Lot.
We decided to focus more on the volunteers. We wanted to talk about inside of the food pantry, what are some of the biggest issues, and that's the transportation. And so we decided that we wanted to come up with these shelves, and these shelves are going to be spring-loaded. So as you apply weight to them, they're going to go down, and then as you take off the weight, they'll go back up. So you're keeping the same counter level height. It's like half scale. It's gonna be significantly bigger, but you're keeping that same counter level height, so you're not having to bend nearly as much, and you can do even more work with that.
One of our big goals is the mobility of it. So we have an option to do all-terrain wheels, caster wheels for a cheaper option with just locks on them, depending on your surface that you're moving on. And then our last feature on this is the 3 compartments. One insulated and hopefully eventually cooled, whether conductively or convectionally. And then a slightly less insulated one for our produce and stuff like that. And then one that is for dry goods, our cans, our boxes, just protected from our outside elements, but not cool.
But another thing we wanted to add into this was also the ability for people to choose. So what we wanted to do is we attached shopping bags to this, and so that way people can walk up to the cart and they can open the doors, and they can look inside and choose what they want based on their dietary preferences. Introducing Sir Lift a Lot, designed for dignity, engineered for empathy.
The judges have a hard decision to make, but they will deliberate now for an hour.
There's probably multiple qualities that are important, but I think maybe the most important one is it solving a problem? And is it going to be used by that consumers? In solution, yeah, this one I think caught our attention because of its practicality and its simple and elegant solution to a problem.
This is something I'd encourage them to continue to work on because I think there's so many other add-ons and components that could make it even more valuable.
The feasibility is great, like the cost, fantastic, scalability, super simple and easy, just a very efficient solution to a problem.
So that's a challenging one is communication. How do we make sure that people who need that assistance don't ever feel like they are being viewed at in any negative kind of context? All right, so Trapper Keeper.
I like it. Elegant, solves a problem, definitely takes some stigma out of it because you see these all over campuses all the time, so I like that.
I like the easy access for it, that it just, like you said, is a much more dignified way of serving the population. The one thing that I would be concerned about this one is like the amount of labor it's going to take for recharging and cleaning the item.
Shall we move to another one? Let's go.
Definitely for me, I'll be looking for accessibility. How easy is it for people to get there and get the food, or for the food to get to the people?
The icebox system. Super innovative, a lot of science, but also a lot of science.
Yeah. As a scientist, I kind of like the science and appreciate the science, but I think they kind of left some unanswered questions as to when these things are connected together, does the pressure change? Can you open it multiple times and it stay temperature controlled? What is the range of temperatures?
I think this would be a great option. In disaster response, it has components that would be easy to get, so accessibility is very high with this one.
The design, I think, is there. It's just a matter of now proving that like it works in this way, in these scenarios.
It really does have application.
Wow, we have looked at all these things and talked about it. I guess now we need to sit down and make a decision.
Well, it is time to start our awards presentation. So we're gonna start with our Agilities in Action Award. Our Agilities in Action Award goes to We Fail Fast Too.
Hey, great job, you guys. Everyone did so fantastic on their presentations. You really made our job difficult.
Our top innovation team is going to get this beautifully crafted trophy and $10,000. Congratulations to the Dream
Wait, I just want to say something really cool. So we are the first blind team to ever win nationals.
What an inspiring season of Make48. These young minds truly showcase the power of competition, collaboration, and design thinking. A huge congratulations to all of our winners and to all the competitors for pushing the bounds this weekend. See you next time for Season 10.
Who eats the most? Wow.